If you have a made in India item, we can ramp up the production and we can be ready at all times.
Today, Atmanirbharta or indigenization is not just a slogan.
So it is the Indian Army's perspective on Indianization of armed forces.
Right from 1970s, Indian Navy is accorded a lot of importance to indigenization.
Laghu Udyog Bharati was also the first one to receive, so it's also an acknowledgement to the Office of the Defense Secretary.
As an industry, we need to really give a lot of importance to the process of executing a project.
We commissioned the largest ship ever built in this country.
Where are you really looking at the overall opportunities of India and also for the globe?
And presently, 9,760 such projects are going on Indigenization. It's really huge.
The necessity of Atmanirbhar Bharat, a self-reliant India in defense sector.
Because defense industry is one industry which has got huge margins.
We are building a 6 megawatt engine for the Indian Navy.
When we are embracing the vision of Viksit Bharat.
Distinguished dignitaries, esteemed panelists, respected officers, participants, and invitees. It is my profound privilege to welcome all of you for this much-awaited session on indigenization in armed forces, policy reforms, and opportunities. Indian defense sector stands at a defining moment driven by the twin objective of Atmanirbhar Bharat and Make in India. The government and armed forces are aggressively pushing for self-reliance in manufacturing and defense supply chains. Indigenization in defense supplies is just not an aspiration, but it is a national mission that brings in strategic strength and economic growth. And to achieve this, the government has brought in series of policy reforms and measures to minimize the dependence on imports. And these policy changes are opening up immense opportunities and reshaping the contours of defense procurements and production supply systems. So what does it mean for the stakeholders? To understand this, we have an array of eminent speakers who will deliberate on the evolving policies landscape and explore opportunities for innovation and capacity building to strengthen the indigenous ecosystem. We look forward to an insightful exchange of ideas that will significantly turn the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat into action and eventually India into a net exporter of defense capabilities. We have highly knowledgeable panelists representing their respective chiefs here today, and it is my privilege to welcome Air Vice Marshal Shri Rishi, Seth, VSM, Senior Maintenance Officer, Headquarters Training Command, Indian Air Force. Sir, please come on stage. We also have with us Rear Admiral Sri Sanjay Adhana, VSM, Assistant Chief of Materials, Ministry of Defense, Indian Navy. I respectfully welcome him onto the stage, please. And we have from the Indian Army, Major General Shri N.R. Jakhar, SM, ADG, CD&A. I welcome you, sir, onto the stage. We also have with us an industry domain expert, a doyen in aerospace industry, H.G. Chandrashekhar, CMD of Sasmos HD Technologies. I welcome you, sir, onto the stage. This important session on indigenization is being moderated by Shri Jitendra Singh, Advisor Aerospace and Defense, LUB Karnataka. I welcome Shri Jitendra Singh onto the stage, please. Let me also take the privilege of introducing Shri Jitendra Singh to the audience. He has an enviable track record, beginning with his graduation in aeronautical engineering from PEC Chandigarh. Thereafter, he obtained his MS in aerospace engineering from prestigious TU Delft University, Netherlands. He also did his MS in flight test training from ISAE, France. After his impressive academics and after a brief stint working in Honeywell and General Engineering, General Aerospace, he joined DRDO as a scientist specializing in aircraft propulsion and flight test engineering. He has worked on all three categories of engine, military, civil, and helicopters. And post his retirement from DRDO, Shri Jitendra Singh is still actively sharing his vast experience and is being associated with some of the technical universities as professor of practice. He is also an advisor on some of the companies, and currently he is advising Laghu Udyog Bharati on aerospace and defense panels.
Welcome, sir. Welcome to this very important session. Thank you for taking time off your busy schedules. Next, I welcome Rear Admiral Sanjay Adhana ji from Indian Navy, please. So welcome, sir. Next, I welcome Major General Jakhar from Indian Army, an infantry officer, very accomplished. And Mr. H.G. Chandrashekhar, who has made Sasmos a force to reckon with. So welcome, sir. So I always start by one of the lines which has become my favorite soon after we have been working on this MSME, as our chief guest of the conference, Mr. Sunil Devdaji, has said, and we said this in the press conference as well in Delhi, that the war was lost for the want of a shoe nail. And that is really the bottom line of this session. There has been the kind of reforms which has happened, and DPM 2025, which allows MSMEs to participate, and directly you hear from the forces how they're going to benefit from such. So we have the real heroes right here. So it's my distinct honor to welcome you all in this prestigious panel. And together with these officers, we will have how Atmanirbhar Bharat is really shaping on the ground. In fact, we have had an opportunity to work with the Air Vice Marshal Rishi said while he was the Air Officer commanding in Delhi, one of the key BRDs. So this discussion today, we have all land, sea and air, all the guardians of that, and we will we'll extend our deepest respect and warm welcome to the panel. Now I have one acknowledgement to make, a very important one. Although today I see that as our conference chair, Dr. Sachin Sabne said, traffic could have been playing a role, but then very few audience here. We have a very beautiful Indian Air Force exhibit area. So on behalf of Laghu Udyog Bharati and IMS Foundation, I would like to acknowledge the Indian Air Force, entire force. In fact, it's a very beautiful, outstanding exhibit, and I recommend everyone in the audience and everyone to visit the exhibit area and take benefit of what has been displayed and interact with the officers and the men there. Also, Laghu Udyog Bharati was also the first one to receive, so it's also an acknowledgement to the Office of the Defense Secretary. We were the first one to receive the copy of the Defense Procurement Policy 2025 and was released on 23rd October. And we were able to make a mention of that when we had a press conference in Delhi, thanks to Mr. Sunil Devdarji, again on 28th October. So it was all over national media news. So with that note, the first one, I'll read out the bio for all four of them, very quick, and then we can start with the Indian Air Force. And Major General Jakhar was commissioned in Grenadiers Regiment in March 1992, sir. Alumnus of Officers Training Academy, Madras, and attended the prestigious Defence Staff College in Wellington, Higher Command course. Officer, as I said, is a very highly accomplished infantry officer, both in operational, command, instructional, and staff experience in all domains. He's been awarded with Bharati Sena Medal, commendation cards from the Chief of Army Staff, and he was a General Officer Commanding in Chief, exemplifying which is his professionalism, leadership, and commitment to excellence. And not only this, and his son is also serving naval officer. So it's really a proud moment, sir, that it's a lineage continues. Coming over to Admiral Sanjay Adhana, as he's Assistant Chief of Material in Indian Navy for the modernization. And very important role that he plays for Indian Navy today is that he is also a Director General for Naval Trial and Acceptance Test. So basically the assets that you see, ships and submarines and all the assets in the Navy. So he's the Director General. It's really a privileged opportunity to interact with him, particularly on the naval side, to understand what. And he was the Officer Dockyards, alumnus of Defense College of Defense CDM, College of Defense Management, and been a commanding officer on INS Exila. He was also directing staff at CDM, Secunderabad again. And among decorations, he has the decorations CNS, which is Chief of Naval Staff in 2000, Commander-in-Chief West in 1999, and then for his services and exemplary professionalism, he was awarded the VSM in 2024. So thank you, sir, for again from the panel. Air Vice Marshal Rishi Seth. The Air Officer was commissioned in Aeronautical Engineering Electronics branch in 1991. So you can see, and he's trained on MiG-21, MiG-29, Su-30 MKI aircraft that everybody, we just dream of getting closer to the aircraft. He has spent his life, all his life. He's also trained in Russia on MiG-21 Bison, alumnus of DSSC and Higher Command course in College of Air Warfare, sir. He was also the fleet maneuver Sukhoi 30 MKI, involved in the reliability enhancing of operational capabilities of Su-30 MKI aircraft. He is currently responsible for the maintenance activities on Headquarter Training Command, and that's why as the designation goes by, the staff maintenance. The SMSO in short, but I want to be accurate, read out his exact title for the Senior Maintenance Staff Officer. It's one of the key positions in Indian Air Force, and therefore, SMSO, we welcome you, sir, for this. And now we have very important industry representative, which is Mr. Chandrashekhar. Infinite humility, that's number one. Actually, that's the starting of his CV, I would say. He is the founder and managing director for Sasmos Head Technologies. I can do that extempore for him, but I would like to read out my cheat sheet, which I prepared this morning. He's a first generation entrepreneur. Sasmos has become one of the most important defense contractor by the list released by the Defense Ministry, by Raksha Mantri ji. And one of the key suppliers to the USA and France, one of the top defense exporters. The company is, yes. And the company is doing 700 crores, largely export, but now focus has shifted to the indigenization. Hence, he's one of the key persons on the several committees by the state government, central government. So, and he's committed to Make in India while actively leading initiatives that bring new technologies. So, welcome to you, sir. And that's the end of my session. And beginning of, I invite a Vice Marshal Rishi Seth to start the presentation, sir. Thank you very much.
On behalf of Indian Air Force, I would like to thank Laghu Udyog Bharati for creating this great event of IMS 2025 conference to bring together the entire aerospace and defense stakeholders to exchange ideas and look at the opportunities, and let's grow together. In the next 20 minutes or so, I would be covering the topics of Indonesian Armed Forces, policy and reforms. I would restrict myself to mostly to Air Force because I am in blue uniform. I would not like to steal the thunder of my colleagues. So pardon me for that. So it will be mostly on Air Force. Well, if you look at the first slide of my presentation, there is a dichotomy in this slide. On one side, it says India lands on the moon with 80% of indigenous content. And on the same slide, it shows in Bangalore itself, huge number of foreign weapon companies coming to India to sell weapons. So there is a gap which I feel, especially in the defense sector, which needs to be bridged and needs to be bridged faster. This is proven by the fact that India remains the top arms importers in the world. Because Ukraine looks little higher than this because of the present war going on there. And in 2016, when I was going through the data, China was somewhere there in number 4. And now if you see today, it's not there. We need to take a cue from that. And I would like that next 10 years, our name should be not there here. Also, we should not look at it at a very pessimist level when I talk that India still is the number 1 importer. But when I saw the slide of 2016, it was 11%. The percentage has dropped, and I'm sure it is dropping fast. With this as a backdrop, I will cover my presentation under the following heads. I will cover the key drivers for indigenization, what efforts armed forces have done towards that, government's major policy initiatives which has helped to push towards defense indigenization especially, tools and the ecosystem along with IF's initiative. What are the achievements which we have done? And before I conclude, I'll talk about opportunities and challenges for the defense industry. What is India's dilemma? Defense sector is dependent on foreign OEM, especially when you talk about the aviation sector. Lot of dependence is there on in foreign OEM. Countries which have got this technology are not ready to share with us. Last 70 years, little R&D has been done in defense sector. Last 10-15 years, things have improved, but still we have a lot to catch up. Private industry partnership has remained low. Now it is day by day. In last 10 years, I have been interacting with defense industry, and I've seen how the defense industry has grown. It has really grown fast. And I hope in next 10 years, we will be able to catch up. There are issues of complexities and certification, especially in the defense sector, and more so in the Air Force. Because being in aviation, there is a lot of involvement of civil and certification when you talk about indigenization. The answer is leapfrogging, and indigenization is the need of the hour. What are the key drivers? Firstly, the strategic autonomy and national security. So the biggest key driver is this. Because in today's world, as you all know, there is no permanent enemies or permanent friends. In the time of war, alignment, we do not know what kind of alignment will take place. And that is the time our strategic autonomy will go. We will not be able to fight a war without support. So that actually drives us towards indigenization. As the eminent speakers earlier said the same thing, and I'm repeating that we have to be indigenized to ensure that our security is kept. Operational readiness is another issue. In case of requirement, if you have a made in India item, we can ramp up the production and we can be ready at all times. Of course, the industry will benefit hugely in this because defense industry is one industry which has got huge margins. Economic benefits will be there, cost savings will be huge, and there will be job creation as well as skill development. This will come along with export potential. And as I already spoken about supply chain resilience, this will avoid supply chain disruption in case of war if you are self-contained. What is the ecosystem? If you look at the ecosystem, 16 DPSUs are there, along with 436 defense industries and 16,000 MSMEs are there. They are all interlinked with each other. The DPSU is also involved with license production, but they are also doing some sort of indigenization and indigenous production also. But they are involving lot of industry here, and Air Force is also directly interacting with that industry. Today, as we speak, around 65% of defense requirement is fulfilled indigenously, but this 35% is what is more critical, I would say. This gap needs to be bridged. And defense, 22% of defense production has been done by the industry partners, which is private industries. If you look at the growth is huge. Last 10 years, it has shown defense production has jumped 174%, and the export has done around 30 times. This is all about capital and production, but there are other facets of indigenization, which at grassroots level we face in Air Force, which is refurbishment, reclamation, upgradation, life extension, substitution, and development. These are the facets which are very helpful when the MSMEs or defense industries participate, because what we are effectively having is foreign OEM based platforms in Indian Air Force, a lot of them, and their spare parts need this kind of grassroots level indigenization. And if you get that, then we are at least independent in repair and overall of these equipment, which is which will have a very huge impact on us. What are the efforts which Air Force has done? We have created nodal technological centers in each of the BRDs. We have 13 of them, all spread all across the country. These technological centers are part of base repair depots, and they are directly interacting with the MSMEs as well as private industries to indigenize items which are produced or repaired and overhauled in the BRDs. We have also created a cell in maintenance command. Along with each command, we are trying to set up a single point of contact, an officer designate for indigenization in that particular command. We have a higher echelon in Air Headquarters. We have a Directorate of Indigenization, and presently 9,760 such projects are going on indigenization, which is really huge. Last year, we have given business of worth 350 crores to the industry, and in the large ticket, around 4,000 to 5,000 crores of worth of business is being given to the industry. Similarly, Director of Air Force Design is there in Air Headquarters, which is looking after the projects in the make category. And IDEX projects are there, along with 36 TDF projects. We are engaging startups through NTC and also MSME collaboration and engagement through academia, through various MOUs. We have a huge amount of MOUs with all the IITs, and a lot of projects are being given to IITs to resolve and give us good solutions on that. And they have a process of certification as well as patenting. Some of the success stories are as flashed. We are all aware. LCA, Prachand, HTT-40 is expected to come by next year. Akash missile system, you are all aware of this. The list goes on and on. I will not cover this list that is available in the open forum. Some of the major milestones, apart from what you see in the papers or in the news, is these, which are quietly being done in last 10 years by the push from the government as well as the efforts by the Air Force. Most of the aviation batteries today are indigenized, which are used in the fighter aircraft and the transport aircraft. Earlier, we were importing these batteries. They have been indigenized completely. Tires for fighters and all transport aircraft are all indigenized today. And that's a huge benefit for us, because I have seen in my own career, 30 years ago when I was working in MiG-21, my aircraft went on AOG because of want of tire tubes, which was so sad. And today we have no dearth of it. It has been made in India. We are also progressing ahead in automatic replenishment stores. These are small stores, small spares which are required for repair and overhaul in the fighter streams and the aircraft, in the transport aircrafts, wherein when you overhaul the item, these small spares are required, and it is mandatory replacement. At one point of time, we were at 10 to 20% of indigenized spares, rest of all are getting imported. Even a screw, you won't believe, was getting from abroad. And I know a case not very long back, 6 to 8 years ago, one screw of one of the prime transport aircraft of the canopy was costing 10,000 rupees. And it was a shock to me. And we were still buying it because there was no way out. Today, I can say proudly that 76% of these spares are made in India, and it is growing as we speak. We are moved ahead in automation and simulators in a large way. Most of the simulators now are made in India, so it is a very big achievement. Of course, a new thing which has come up is MRO in embedded model. That means in BRDs, we are now inviting industries to set up their own facilities so that you can facilitate major overhauls inside the BRDs by your own manpower while we give the space to them. What are the major policy initiative by the government which has helped us to happen? DPM 2025 has already been talked about. It was released on 23rd October. Some of the important things, I'll just cover one or two. One is now no NOC is required from DPSU when you are tendering for an item which is repaired by the DPSU or produced by DPSU, which is a huge initiative by the government. This will keep the playing field even for the defense industry. Another important thing is the relaxation of LDs. Liquidation damage for the industry has been reduced from 0.5% per week to 0.1% per week. And for development projects, the LD has been waived off. It's a good news for the industry. And the last one is on when you're giving maintenance and repair work, if 15% extra is there, you don't have to go again for approvals, which will help the industry to do this work at a faster pace. Other policy initiatives which are available in the open forum, I will not dwell upon them much, but IDX is there by DDP. Aditi scheme is there. 30 such niche technology projects are going on in Aditi. Incubator schemes are there by MSME. PDF by DRDO. Surgeon portal, 14,000 items are indigenized under Surgeon portal right now. And positive indigenization list which government has issued. Around 5,000 items are there in that. And good news is that 3,000 have been indigenized. It's a very great achievement. If I talk about IDS, 43 items over 2,400 crores in last 1 year. Armed forces, only additional projects over 1,500 crores have been approved for development. These are the make categories, make 1, make 2 and make 3. This you are all aware, so I'll just flash this slide. But I'll just tell you that 145 projects involving 171 industries is under progress right now. What Air Force has also done is, like government has done for ease of business, we have also put up that thought in our daily work. We have set up directorates at various levels, of course, as I have already told you. Even at the command level, we are directly dealing with the units and talking to them on indigenization and giving them PDCs to do it faster. Single point of contacts have been made everywhere in each and every station. Transparent exchange of information is done. Earlier, defense sector was a closed sector. People were scared of sharing information. Today, we are happy to say that any MSME, any industry approaching us, we are ready to share our information and give you a contract for development. Effective coordination between stakeholders and TDF is taking place, and full support regarding procedure for certification has been done. Having talked all this, so what are the opportunities and challenges for the industry? The next decade is likely to see an exponential rise in production, and export potential is there. We are expecting $100 billion of worth of procurement in the next 6 years. There are numerous policies by the Government of India to encourage private participation. This is going to increase as days passes. Even cases worth 13,000 crores is under D&D. Import substitution and global supply chain, I've already talked about. I urge the industry to venture into AI, drones and robotics. This is the future for every industry, including the defense industries. Today, instead of mechanical portions, we should look at how we can solve the same thing using AI or software, and you will be able to achieve the same result using that. What are the challenges which every industry talks? is economic order quantity factor is low. Of course, in the start, the factor will remain low. But towards that only the development money is being provided for the industry. Technical complexity for the aviation grade production standards are high, especially for Air Force. We need to increase the R&D, enhance the quality and certification process. Last but not the least is understanding the requirements. Today, industry is there, they have the capability. Defense establishments wants the inputs, but there is no handshake. This needs to increase. So that's why this forum is very important to exchange these ideas so that people are aware what we want and what you can produce for us. If I crystal gaze, as a country grows in the next few decades, the defense requirements will grow multifold. Because once the country is economically sound, it needs 10 times more military power to help it to retain that position. Future manufacturing and defense solutions will come from AI, autonomous weapons, drone technology and robotics, which I have already covered. Export in defense is also going to rise exponentially. Government's commitment to foster Atmanirbhar Bharat through reforms and policy changes will continue for next 10 to 15 years. That's what I can hope for. In the end, the industry ecosystem is looking good. That's what I can see. Government support of industry is immense. In the present geopolitical situation, supply chains can get disturbed. Industry partners should actively participate in future of aerospace and defense manufacturing. I have written an email here, which is vocal for local@government.in. This is the email of our indigenization cell. Anybody wanting to approach us, you are most welcome. You will be encouraged and to participate in any of the tenders. One caption I want to say that 60% is not enough. We need 100%, know how and know why. The same thing was, I'm quoted from Air Marshal Bharati's talk, which was given in April 25. And this is very apt that we have to know how and know why. That is must. We also have a website of Air Force where you can see what all projects are going on, what all you can tender for, and what is our plan for indigenization. In the end, I would like to say, let us remember that the end goal is not only indigenization, but securing the country's to able and ready armed forces. And this can only help if we indigenize and we are self-sufficient. Jai Hind.
5, because I left it open to the interpretation what is defense procurement policy. So thank you very much for that. And second key takeaway that I see from for AVM Seth's slides are that today Atmanirbharta or indigenization is not just a slogan. It has become a strategic imperative for the country. And two, it is happening on the ground. Like Sir has said, on BRDs, there are no local certification are being obtained for the indigenization, are used for the fit for purpose for the fleet. Sir, thank you very much for this very enlightening session. Now I invite Admiral Adhana for the naval part of the indigenization. Thank you.
First of all, I would like to thank Laghu, Udyog, Bharati for curating this 2025 edition of Indian Manufacturing Show. So coming to indigenization, this is nothing new to the Indian Navy. Right from 1970s, Indian Navy is accorded a lot of importance to indigenization. When we launched our Nilgiri class of ships, from then on, you would have seen in 2022, we commissioned the largest ship ever built in this country, the beacon of self-reliance and indigenization, Indian naval ship Vikrant. You would be very, very pleased to note that presently 56 ships are under construction at various shipyards in the country, and all the ships will be built in this country. We would not be acquiring any platform from abroad. So with this little background, let me come to my presentation proper. So I would like to cover the presentation under the following heads. So what you see on the slides are the various schemes of the government, which my earlier panelists also touched upon. So these schemes are important for the sustenance of platforms which we acquired from abroad, and also to provide us solutions for the equipment and systems which are now not available in the country. So coming to MAKE scheme, you have MAKE 1, which is government funded. You have MAKE 2, which is by the industry. The development is done by them, and there's no sponsoring by the government, but they are given guarantee of once the product is successfully developed, that product would be bought by the government in bulk. And the third scheme under MAKE is MAKE 3, which is a joint venture with any of the foreign firms. For some reasons, it is just not taken off. And under MAKE 1, I would also like to inform the audience that all this while, the diesel engines for propulsion of warships were being imported. It is for the first time in the history of this country, we've given a MAKE 1 project to Messrs. Kirloskar. They are building a 6 megawatt engine for the Indian Navy. We are not stopping there. We are also foraying into the fields of gas turbines, marine gas turbines for propulsion. So we are looking at the development of about 24 megawatt gas turbines for propulsion. The other scheme is TDF, which is a DRDO scheme. It is technology fund where the maximum limit is 50 crores. The third scheme is IDEX. The first three schemes are capital schemes, and the fourth scheme is revenue scheme, which is primarily used by Navy for the sustenance of the equipment and systems which are fitted on the platform which were acquired from foreign countries. So what is the organization we've got in the Navy for innovation and indigenization? You see on the slide the Naval Innovation and Indigenization Organization, which was a mandate or which was mandated by the Defense Acquisition Policy 2020. This was formed on 14th August 2020. It is headed by Vice Chief of the Navy. It has got two verticals. One vertical is headed by me, and the other vertical is headed by Assistant Chief of Naval Staff Requirements. So primarily, ACNS SR looks at the weapons and sensors part of it, and I look at the float and propulsion part of the chain of the warship. So who are the members? What is this organization? That is flash on the screen for you to just note. So just to give you the overview as to where we stand insofar as all these schemes are concerned and how well we have been able to harness the power of these schemes. So we had a very, very humble beginning. Till about 2016, we hardly had any projects, which were done by the industry. Today we have got about 311 contracts worth 1,200 crores, which are under development. And once these projects fructify, they will result into the bulk procurement that will be valued almost at 6,000 crores. So as I was mentioning to you, that till 2016 we hardly had any projects to show for our achievements. But come 2018, you see the growth is just fantastic. As of today, we've got 174 projects which are pursued by the Navy, valued at almost 8,500 crores. So this is just the start. We've got a lot of, these schemes have got a lot of potential, and we've got a lot of scope for the Indian entrepreneurs to contribute. So just talking about the success stories, what all we've been able to achieve along with you, you just have a glimpse of that insofar as the revenue scheme is concerned. Now shown on the screen are the products which are being pursued through the Technology Development Fund of DRDO. What you see is a 0.6 megawatt water jet propulsion system, the tide efficient gangway which works efficiently even with increase or decrease in the tide. The composite material, very light water tight and gas tight doors and hatches for the ships. Lightweight cylinders for storage of air and compressed air and other gases. So these are some products which have been developed through make scheme of the government. So coming to what are the naval requirements? All the naval requirements, they have very, very comprehensively been covered in a document called Swavlamban. This is launched every year when we have our flagship Indigenisation exposition every year. This year also it is planned on 25th of November. So all our requirements under various verticals like marine engineering, submarine equipment and systems, aircraft handling equipment, armament and ammunition, aviation equipment, electrical and electronics equipment, they have been covered in this document in detail. Besides, the Srijan portal, which also gives the requirement of the Navy, you will have all these products and requirements of the Navy displayed over there. You may log on to this portal and you'll find and you'll get all the information. So just to give you a glimpse of what are the requirements of Indian Navy under various heads, starting with marine engineering and submarine equipment. In fact, this is not all, this is just a small little sample of that. Under the head Naval Armament and Ammunition, naval aviation, electrical and electronics equipment, shown on the screen are some of the naval requirements. Well, those are not all. So coming to the information portal, so all this information is available on the portals and websites shown on the screen. You may log on to those and get all the inputs and information about what are the requirements of the Navy. And now flash on the screen are the contact details of the directorates which are involved at Naval Headquarters in the process of indigenization and innovation. Their contact details are also shown on the screen for the benefit of all the MSME and other institutions which are involved in indigenization. So I would just not dwell too much. My colleague from the Air Force has already given you a salience of DPM 25. So I've finished. I'll leave you with these thoughts. Thank you very much.
Requirements, number one. I think I take this opportunity also to mention we've had a opportunity to interact with all the dockyards, Hindustan Shipyard, Cochin Dockyard Limit. The opportunity is so huge, especially for the naval indigenization part, sir. And thank you very much for flashing the first slide, INS Vikrant, which is the glittering example for Indian indigenization, particularly in the Indian Navy. And from this policy, only one point for the target audience I want to make a mention, that there is a rule, there is a policy which supports this indigenization, that 25% of the work allocation should go to MSME. And each DPSU is measured on that. So it's being audited, and they are awarded non-compliance if they are not able to award the 25% of work allocation. And most of that is happening in the dockyard for the naval requirements. So that is also, while we can talk about the crisis, but that also offers an opportunity for the industry to be able to support that production. And as sir has rightly shown, from the small equipments to the larger subsystems can be provided by the industry. So with that small note, sir, thank you once again. I now invite Major General Jakhar for the Indian Army requirement, which is going to be a very interesting session again. Thank you. Welcome, sir.
Eminent personalities in the audience, ladies and gentlemen. Jai Hind, Namaskara. I'm indeed delighted to be part of the 7th edition of the Indian Manufacturing Show 2025, organized by IMS Foundation and Laghu Udyog Bharati. I promise that I'll not be repeating any of the points that have been given by my two previous speakers from the services perspective, and I'm really grateful to both of them for not stealing the Indian Army's thunder. So it is the Indian Army's perspective on Indianization of armed forces to achieve Atmanirbharta. Essentially, I'll be covering the policies, opportunities, and reforms. Over the past day and a half, we had all the eminent personalities who spoke yesterday and in today's inaugural session, talking about the pivotal moment in history that we find ourselves when we are embracing the vision of Viksit Bharat. As a nation, we have witnessed a paradigm shift in the way we look towards our defense production, from an era of absolute dependency to self-sufficiency, moving on to an era of public-private partnership, and now coming on to a domain wherein the private industry is manufacturing. And as has been brought out, DPM 25 gives out very clearly that no longer do we require NOC from the DPSUs. We've come a long way. The necessity of Atmanirbhar Bharat, a self-reliant India in defense sector, especially given the current geostrategic security scenario and belligerent neighbors on our borders, is no longer an option, but a necessity for a national security perspective. Indian Army is fully aligned to the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat, as enunciated by our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, and remains committed to the spirit of Atmanirbhar Bharat. While our key result areas cover a very wide spectrum, I'll restrict myself to the theme of this session, and in the next few minutes, I shall be taking you through the evolving defense ecosystem from the Indian Army's perspective, what we are looking at, what we are actually getting, where are the challenges, and challenge is not the word which I will actually use. Challenges for me perhaps, but I'm looking at the industry, I'm looking at opportunities for them. So these challenges are actually that translate into opportunities. And then we are looking at reforms driving towards self-reliance. Before I come on to the specifics of the procurement process and arms and ammunition, I'll briefly cover the geostrategic realities that shape the security imperatives. And this slide I included specifically because of the question that have been asked to me yesterday by a number of the startups and MSMEs. You know, sir, it takes long for Indian Army to clear our equipment in trials, and we find it very difficult. There's certain equipment that passes when I'm doing trials in Bangalore, and somehow Indian Army is not taking it. You have to put the whole thing in correct perspective, and you have to understand our operational environment. I mean, we have got a very unique geography. And some of those who are here, I see some of our foreign friends also here today. You have to understand the geography, which ranges from Run of Kutch, which is in certain areas below the mean sea level also, and going up to the glaciated terrains and super altitude of Siachen Glacier. Now, what we need is an equipment that will function in all kinds of terrains. We are looking at an equipment that is going to work equally well in our island territories, equally well when looking at the jungles of Northeast. And it is not just the temperature which is ranging from minus, say, 40 degrees in the glaciated terrain to about plus 50 degrees in Thar deserts. We're looking at an altitude which goes up to 25,000 when you're looking at altitude, super altitude and glaciated terrains coming onto the mean sea levels. And with these complexities, if you add the atmospheric pressure, the humidity, to name just a few of the challenges that come in these areas, then you'll understand why do we need to extensively test our equipment, which has to withstand not only the diverse operational environment, but also the need of the future dynamic and ever-evolving battlefield. So this in turn would necessitate a self-reliant and capable manufacturing industries, meeting not only the current requirements, while the current requirements are what most of the industry partners are looking at when we are interacting with them, but what we are interested in their investment in research and development and cutting-edge technology with matching human resource capability to meet our future requirements. Our Honorable Raksha Mantri has so succinctly put it. National security is no longer just a matter of armies, but has become an issue of whole of nation approach. The military security today is a collective responsibility of all the stakeholders, that is, we, the Indians. Before I come on to the opportunities, I would just like to give you a very brief look into how the future battle space looks like and what defense technologies or the weapon system would cater for this future battle space. And this is what the future battle space is going to look like. There's going to be no set template. We can't be preparing for yesterday's war. We have to prepare for a future war. And if you're looking at future conflicts, we have to take an absolutely de novo approach. Certain lessons that have been, talked about in the recent conflicts, almost everyone is aware out here and has been spoken about yesterday also and today also by some of the panelists. So what we are looking at is an absolutely disruptive, adaptive, precise and innovative form of warfare evolving as we go ahead. We're looking at asymmetric warfare. We're looking at a whole lot of role for the autonomous systems. They'll be AI-driven, hypersonic weapons, long-range vectors, and not only the vectors, there'll be countermeasures that will come out along with it. We're looking at a whole lot of cross-domain targeting. Essentially, there'll be increasing emphasis on lethality and precision. So, now this is what the threat matrix of a future battlefield looks like. And when I say threat matrix, this is from a military perspective. But when I look at from the audience here, therein lies your opportunities. The recent conflicts have told us very clearly, and Ops Sindoor has demonstrated it amply, that intensive use of technology is going to be a norm rather than an exception. And this is going to be across the domains. No longer are we restricted to the erstwhile domain of air, sea, and land. Space and the all-permissive electromagnetic spectrum operational space is what is going to define the battle of future. And the battle is not going to be restricted only to the borders. If we think that we're sitting in Bangalore, we are not going to be affected, I'm sorry to say, then we are going wrong. There's going to be absolute continuum of battle space. So the strategic depth, the operational depth, and the tactical depth, there'll be blurring of these spaces. What we are looking at is a non-kinetic, non-contact battle happening and impacting people at wrong ranges. Cyber ops, info ops, to name just a few. So if you are looking at a future system developing, we're looking at capabilities in these domains. And the capability of one domain has got impact on a operation happening in a different domain. So if there is an air ops happening, something being done in the electromagnetic spectrum will impact the air ops. Something happening on land, something being done in the maritime space will have a direct impact on the land ops. So this is how the future battle space is going to look like, and this is how the future operations are going to pan out. Based on the vision of Viksit Bharat and our crystal gazing of how the future battles are going to be fought, the Indian Army has laid out a vision given by our chief, and that is to transform into a modern, agile, adaptive, technology-enabled and self-reliant, future-ready force. We're not looking at fighting yesterday's war, and we're looking at deterring and winning wars in a multi-domain environment across full spectrum of operations to protect a national interest in synergy with other services. So this is what we are looking at, and certain niche future capabilities that have been listed out by Indian Army in about 12 domains that have been given. These are our focus areas, as can be clearly seen. And in that, we are essentially looking at an AI-enabled integrated system. We are looking at stealth technology. We are looking at man-unmanned teaming, and in terms of radars, electronic warfare. So our focus is going to be the electromagnetic spectrum, besides the other spectrums that have already been given out. Coming on to more specifics. And before that, I'm just looking at a comparative capability when we're looking at technological advancements and global trends among the developed nations and India. Just to put the whole thing in the perspective, an ideal combination for any armed forces or for any developed nation would be a 30-40-30 mix. That is to say, 30% of the legacy equipment, 40% of the current technology, and about 30% of the niche technology being part of its inventory. But when we are looking at India, we're looking at 57% of legacy equipment. Now, herein lies an opportunity when I'm looking at the bright young entrepreneur sitting in this hall. Why I say opportunity in the legacy equipment is, it's humongously impossible for the nation, and the kind of the funding that would be required to bring down this legacy systems from about 57% to 30% would be humongous. And this would be at a cost of other developmental schemes. So if we can leverage the niche tech, if we can leverage AI, if we can leverage autonomous system, or if we can come out with some out-of-box solutions to make this legacy equipment relevant and future ready. So This is something which is a low-hanging fruit, and if we are up to the challenge, we are doing multiple things as far as ideas and innovation goes and how to make the legacy equipment more relevant at our end and in association with the academia. So this is a challenge and an opportunity for the entrepreneurs and the MSMEs specifically. And for that, we are prepared to go to any extent to help the MSMEs to realize and operationalize our legacy system with the niche tech. Now, some of the policy initiatives at the apex level have already been spoken about by previous speakers. I'll not be talking about it. One point I wish to highlight is the defense acquisition procedure. 2020 is what is in vogue. I purposefully written 2025 because at the moment, as I speak, this whole lot of revision and proactive, positive ideas are being incorporated into it to make ease of business a reality as far as capital acquisition and procurement is concerned. While DPM 2025 is making ease of doing business in the revenue procurement, capital procurement, DAP 2025 and its amendments are what is going to make a difference. Now, Indian Army's whole of nation approach, what are we doing about it? Firstly, as far as we are concerned, we are actively and constantly engaging with the academia and the industry. What this map depicts is not only the industrial corridors of Tamil Nadu and UP, but also the 4 regional hubs that we have created at our level, both in the northern part of the country and in the southern part of the country, as well as signing a whole lot of memorandum of understandings with the IITs and other technology institutes, the regional technology institutes that are there. Not only that, in our case, when we are looking at R&D and D&D, this is the kind of progress that we have made. And there has been 500% in increase in the projects since 2020. As on date, there are approximately 500 plus projects going and 607 industries and academic collaboration happening. So there is an opportunity here. Again, if you have an idea like what has been spoken by both the previous speakers also, if there is an idea, the armed forces are willing to walk the talk. So please share the idea with us. We'll take it forward. The funding has been given out. Yesterday also the speakers mentioned how the government of India has also increased the funding. So funding is not an issue. It's the idea probably that's the limiting factor. And the way I look at it and the way some questions were thrown at me yesterday, I feel it is lack of awareness at certain levels. So we are here to spread that awareness, and we have one of our regional hubs here in Bengaluru itself. The colonel who's heading here is sitting in the hall here. So in case you wish to interact and know about the specifics as far as Bengaluru is concerned, he is more than willing to help you. Some more figures to showcase our confidence and our faith in our own systems. And if you look at in past 5 years, the number of AONs that have gone to foreign vendors are minuscule. And only in those cases wherein there is a felt need and wherein we do not have an Indian manufacturer. If you look at the number of contracts, again, they are minuscule. They have been going down as we speak. When we are looking at Atmanirbhar Bharat, the industry partners have been very, very proactive in this. And some of them have even gone in for collaboration with the foreign technology giants and vendors and brought in manufacturing units in India. When I look at MSMEs, here again we have an opportunity. When they're coming into India, they're looking at bigger components. The small, specific components, be it, and that's what yesterday is beautifully quoted by the L&T defense head, as also the ISRO chairman highlighted that point, that we are looking at small spare parts and critical technology coming to our country and being there in the country. And like our chair had said, for want of a screw and for want of a nail, the battle was lost. So that technology exists. It is just the will to do it. And I do understand we are in business of making profit, generating revenues. So the orders that are going to be there are assured, are going to be continuous, because any MRO hub that is coming up here, whatever maintenance, refit, overall takes place, they do require spares. So the opportunities are not in the assembled product and the complete product as such. The opportunities also lie in the small components, in the spares, and the spares do make a difference. Some of our success story of Indigenization, major equipment, tanks T90, T72, about 90 to 96% have already been indigenized. The BMPs, and we're looking at some, not only the major assemblies, but also the sub-assemblies and components. All these success stories are listed out in front of it. And not only in terms of weapon and armament, we're also looking at Make in India solutions for ammunition. Herein again, we lies a challenge. While we have taken up 12 Make in India ammunition cases plus 5, total of 17 Make in India ammunition cases are ongoing. While 4 contracts have been signed, and we're looking forward to signing some more contracts. But again, our challenge is, and not only in ammunition, in other places also, is where we are looking at the critical technology. Our Indian partners, our MSME, when they give them order, we give them a particular timeline for contracts. They always look at extending the timeline for delivery. And a constant refrain is the critical component, the key component of that subsystem is to be imported. And the ongoing geostrategic turmoil is creating hurdles. So again, my humble request to the industry out here is we are looking at critical technologies, we are looking at investment and R&D, and we are looking at, as has been said by the Air Force speaker also, is 100% Make in India and Atmanirbharta. So we do not have to look at the foreign vendors for critical technology. If it does not exist, we innovate. If it is innovation is an issue and if it is readily available, we collaborate with the foreign vendors and they are ready to collaborate. We have interacted with a number of foreign vendors. When they come to India, they are willing to collaborate. We are also facilitating their interaction with the Indian vendors and they're carrying it forward. Certain Indian Army initiatives. One of the challenges that was being faced by the industry, and the way I've given out the kind of operational environment that we have, is their lack of understanding of the operational environment. Sitting in hinterland, it's not always easily imaginable that an altitude in our northeast or mountains of northeast are different from mountains in central part of our country, and they are as different from the northern part of our country. So the mountains in J&K, in Leh Ladakh, would be different from what you would probably encounter in Arunachal and Sikkim. There are differences because of the atmospheric pressure and so on things. I'm coming to last 2 slides. So this is what we are looking at. And certain initiative that has been taken up is releasing of problem statements. So you're aware what Indian Army is looking at. Successful innovations like Air Force and Navy, we've had many. Vision portal for absolute transparency and giving awareness for opportunities for MSME. There's my last slide. Challenges, the way I look at it is just 4. Research and development, supportive policy environment that is happening as we speak. We're looking at strategic defense ecosystem, not just looking at the bottom line, but also looking at it as a national security perspective and limited niche tech. So this is where the challenge is, this is where the opportunities is. And these are some of our suggestions. I'll leave it on the slide. And finally, what we're looking at a very synergized defense research, design, development, manufacturing, procurement, and life cycle sustenance. The complete gambit. Thank you very much.
I will invite the next speaker. We have spoken about mainly Indigenization, the armed forces, and now we will get a global perspective from Mr. Chandrashekhar, the CMD of Sasmos. Sir, welcome, sir, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. To be a part of this particular related team of our Indian Armed Forces, I would, before starting anything from my side as an industry representative, I would request all of you to stand up and give a respect to such an excellent input that actually has been given from the part of the industry to our leaders. I tell you, we are in a space where, in my opinion, actually, I think we are standing here and coming together in IMS. And then really thanks for LUB for creating such a great platform to listen to our armed forces, users, fraternity, and then intentions to build nation from the perspective of military environment across the entire industry segments, and the requirements of them has been put up. See, from the industry perspective, I started my journey in aerospace and defense from 2001, getting myself into the global arena through an MNC, learnings for about something like 7 or 8 years of different cultural expectations of the industries, especially in terms of manufacturing and also on the engineering side. Then moved on to setting up our own company called Sasmos. You can see this foundation of Sasmos. Sasmos was built based on, I would like this particular meeting to be focused on why we are successful so far, if at all. And the second thing is, I think, what is that made us different and make me to stand up today in front of such kind of delighted audience, and then also with respect to the defense requirements. See, in an industry as an MSME, I would say that actually, I think when I started in 2007, the government and military operations was always trying to find out how can we establish industries in India which can support the defense requirements from 2005, 2006 onwards, when actually they wanted to give a lot of momentum to get the industry up and running for the requirements. So in 2000 and all, of course, it started with certain policies of offsets, and then it started actually working with respect to Make in India. And then now I think it's a tremendous momentum in the last 15 years that we can really see what really happened and what is happening and what can happen as a future. Right now we heard 3 of them presenting very clearly the requirements of the defense, requirements for indigenization. Lots were happened in the last 5 years, as we all know, in terms of really creating an environment and creating an opportunity and a list of absolute critical needs of the entire Ministry of Defense requirements in front of each one of us as an opportunity for us. See, I think in my opinion, in this particular speech, I would like to represent a couple of things to what industries should do, rather than actually expecting only that opportunity is what is available or not available as a part of it. Do you all agree that actually industry believes that there is a big momentum in India, and then also actually I think there is a requirement and an opportunity for industries with all these presentations? Do you agree with me? In fact, actually there is a huge opportunity in front of us. But where are we lacking? When I really divide 3 legs, one is opportunities, another one is actually the process of procurement or the process as a nation, and then also actually I think readiness of industry. I would like to focus on readiness of industry, and then also I think I would like to believe that the process will get completely matured, even though there are certain areas. Continuously I see evolution happening in India for procurement policies to be refined, and recently I think you have seen the 2025 DPM, it's a DPP itself is an example where actually a lot of changes of industry friendly has been evolving, coming, and then also actually I think. So as a responsible industry leaders, I would like to have, what is the culture of us as an organization? That's why I put up this particular slide in front of you, not really talking about the next slides will tell you how it has really converted Sasmos. But the main thing is basically, if you really look at it, I would request all of us to develop a long-term purpose for the industry and not looking at a short-term returns in this particular industry as a first mindset in the industrial domain. Entrepreneurs or actually as a professional leaders needs to establish where we really need to be creating a long-term vision for the industry. The second important thing that we really request to do is basically in which domain you are strong. What's your identity? Where are you really looking at the overall opportunities of India and also for a globe, and where you can be seen in this industry as an expert and a center of excellence? This is another important point, not really searching for everywhere and getting completely lost in the whole game, because it's a multi-technology and it's a multi-discipline requirements of, as we all say, it is important that we identify our depth, and because it is a business of depth rather than actually business of a commercial good which is really based on the market size. Whereas here the size is limited, but whereas actually I think opportunities are immense in a verticals of many many slices. So this is an area where actually I think we have to introspect ourselves and then put ourselves as an identity which we really create ourselves, and then afterwards expand this into the diversified versions as a lateral versions which people believe. Because why are we doing this? That is because, is it not a number? Yes, it is, number is important, but actually I think in my personal belief, this identity gives you more number in the existing opportunities across the globe and Indian requirements. If you are really defining yourself, people come to you and then really absolutely make it as you as a required, and an absolute clarity to them is there is a solution here in this place. And the third one is culture. See, for example, I tell you, this is not just when you really make an identity, one of the things that is really requires, what in fact I was having discussions with these, all the armed forces in the sidelines, I think the requirement is a reliability, that actually what we say, what we do. In fact, to procure an order, please go to the depth, develop a lot of detailed technological, the realities, and when you are realizing a particular product or a manufacturing output, and build up a good project plan. In India, one of the big gap that I see between when I interact with the industries outside and also here is, I think we as an industry and also as a process of really management needs to really improve upon in terms of our project management and creating expectations through the reality in a transparent way. So that actually this really does a lot of inputs from the other side also, from the customer side. Because in this business, customer is a part of our industry. Customer is not actually away from our industry. He's not an outsider. So the defense will get involved into you, and the technologies, what they need to, that they need is very well known to them. So they give solutions to you also as a part of the whole process, as a team. So important thing is, as an industry, we need to really give a lot of importance to the process of executing a project, detailing a project, getting into truly to the risk factors. It is not just talking about what I can do. In fact, actually, I think in this particular industry, in my opinion, where are my limitations? What are my risks? What are the technological risks? I think these things will become more important to be exposed in the beginning, rather discovering in the end, and then making a very emergency purchase as actually becoming years and years. See, this is where exactly I think we as an industry needs to align to this requirements as an opportunity to make it a great success with revenue and also on the bottom line. In fact, in my view, every project that what Sasmos has worked is always viewed and given a very clear profitability. And if there is a mistake by us, that is where we lose our money. In fact, every defense organization and also I think defense requirements want you to make money. But you must be clear that your money, what is being done, is done with a lot of actually risk mitigation already being planned, so that actually you are really in a good shape to achieve your objectives of financials. So the main part of this is absolutely in this, there is a continuous learning, like many of them have already expressed. It is never ending with a small technology that what we know. It's a learning continuously for a futuristic technology. Here is the technologies are going to change and the demandingly need of the armed forces to bring it new things onto the table, which is really going to be making them different than any other counterpart of enemies. So it is a good brain working value addition and then continuous work with a lot of youngsters who can really actually take challenges of really in terms of upgradation, or actually I think future technology implementation in terms of the current armed forces practices, and so many things are actually available. There is an open arm here, which they have expressed very clearly. Actually, you can come and talk to us and tell us an idea, give us an idea. This is actually, I don't think any industry can get a better platform than this kind of an open arm opportunities, which we can really look at it as long as we can do. Give them a big hand for such kind of an opportunity that is being given. See, of course, industry needs to run finally with a number. If we do not have an idea that actually a micro or the semi-micro the companies can become the medium to large. Because here is the defense industry ask for your growth to become medium or to large over a period of time, not overnight, but at the same time doing very exactly the very well controlled reliability is your one passion. See, look at this. This is the follow. I'm not trying to talk about it. I think I must be thankful to all my colleagues in my Sasmos who really followed this rule as their passion and as their ethical policies in terms of actually implementing it, in terms of making it end success as a purpose. Our purpose was actually creating a company which really going to get aligned to defense and aerospace requirements where quality and reliability makes you win the business and money will be made. This is exactly what we really followed for last 15 years. In fact, actually, I tell you, we started with an export because there were really actually, I think entry strategy was is to make a manufacturing friendly environment in quality and reliability in that particular space, and then moving on to the engineering, and then moving on to a development which really absolutely creates a good path for learning and also readiness for our clarity to build Indian ecosystem requirements after 15 years. In fact, you must be surprised. You may take it as a bit of pinch. In 2009, our roadmap was ready for 20 years, and we said that Indian defense requirements will come by 2020 onwards. And this is what was actually defined as a paper in our organization, and we worked on clearly on the opportunities in terms of actually creating a global footprint from India. I'm proud to tell you today, here is an organization which has really created the same path, worked for it, and then today we are standing here in front of you guys with all the team participating in a development which is for naval, which is for actually for the army, which took minimum 3 to 5 years it took, but actually we developed it completely, replacement of an entire electronic system for the WTZ in our place, and then it also like what our it is mentioned that actually it went through the field trials. It really actually did all that in terms of actually, I think that is where we see a completely upgraded version has been put, and now it is in the last leg to get into the hands of army to use it. This is where actually I think we are really created, and it was done with a will. It was done with a purpose. It was done with actually a clarity to connect to the real industrial processes to the end objectives of the armed forces with respect to quality, reliability, and timeline. So this is exactly where I would like all the industry to be looking internally to align ourselves to the opportunities available and tweak your management styles to build it into a clear process which is reliable, and then opportunities are 100% in your hands. There is no doubt. Second thing is, opportunity doesn't end here. It is a complete global requirement with so many countries requiring capacities for your capabilities. So it is build and focus on capabilities, and then absolutely being ethical and eligible to a reliability towards the end results. I'm pretty sure, I think we will achieve a great success stories of India to not only for our defenses and also for the globe. I would not take more time for you people between the lunch. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. It's a great honor to be a part of this particular relay team. And then really thanks the IMS for creating such a great platform and connect to provide a real inputs to all of us. And I'm sure all the best to all of you guys. And please look at your cultural, ethical, and reliable processes in the industry itself is what I would really request. Thank you very much.
Sir, thank you very much for this talk and for sharing the DNA of the organization with the rest of the team, how the organization is based on certain core values and ethics, number one, which is very, very important for this aerospace and defense ecosystem. What Sasmos is also known for is that it's supplying the electromechanical systems and the wiring harnesses on 22 aircraft platforms. It exports about 650 crores as on today, if I am right, sir, and approximately 100 crores for, less than 100 crores for the indigenization. So about 700 crores of that business Sasmos doing every year. And second part is that what you mentioned about what we export, we should not import to enhance the indigenization content value for the country. These are very core messages for the industry, and how he's built the company is really something to benchmark with. So thank you so much for this, sir. And before I close the session, I really want to recognize the presence of former Chief Air Chief Marshal V.R. Chaudhary. He is right here in the audience, sir. Thank you for gracing the occasion for this very, very important forum. It was not easy to get him here this afternoon, morning itself. It was very hard pressed for him. So thank you for coming over. And with this, due to paucity of time, sorry, we are not taking a Q&A, but we have an opportunity, the audience have an opportunity to interact with each of the officer and Mr. CMD to interact with and take, one-to-one. So with this, we close the session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jitendra ji. I would request the panelists to please stay back for one photograph also. And I would request Shri Mahesh Namdar ji to come on stage and felicitate our moderator, Shri Jitendra Singh. Thank you very much, sir. And you have done And I would just like to share with you that the distinguished speakers and their officers are available here throughout the day. And we have a small discussion room just next to you on your right in the Gulmohar Hall. Anyone who wants to have any interactions with the distinguished panelists, we will felicitate them. And moving on, we would also like to tell you that we would continue to engage with the armed forces any of your queries, even in the coming months and days, you can connect with Laghu, Udyog, Bharati, and we will facilitate an interaction with you.